So is it the end of the glove makers, right? Many of those medical glove makers, right? When the pandemic hit somewhere in March, April, we've seen prices of these counters like, Riverstone, UG Healthcare, and Top Glove, pushing up by more than 50, more than 80, 100%, right? In a couple of months, right? But, over the past 1 to 2 months, when there are talks of a vaccine being rolled out eventually, all right, that's where we started to see a bit of weakness coming back. It seems like, many of these companies are now seeing a bit of selling pressure, and in terms of their business, it's probably affected because with lesser demand, right, for these gloves, right, when a vaccine is being rolled out and eventually everybody gets vaccinated, and that's where their business might be affected, right? And because of a reduced demand compared to when the pandemic just hit. Right, so we can look at these three stocks, the Singapore, the glove makers, basically Riverstone, UG Healthcare, and Top Glove. And just about a month back, right over here, for one of them, Riverstone, we had some downside targets that were drawn. For Riverstone, they kind of broke that 150 level, or some downside targets were drawn to about 120. That was just about a month back. And let's take a look at another counter like UG Healthcare, also another glove maker. We kind of broke that 70-cent support somewhere early of November. Same thing, there were some downside targets that were drawn to about 45 to 40 cents, right? So that was just about a month back, right? So today is the 16th of December as we head into the end of the year. A lot of people ask me if are we still seeing a bit more weakness, right, in these glove makers, or could there be a good reversal back up? So do stick around all the way to the end of this video. I think I've got something that you like for these three stocks, the medical glove makers, all right, and let's go ahead and dive into the charts right now. So this is Riverstone right here, all right, as of the 16th of December 2020. It's about 10:21 a.m. currently trading at about $1.13, right? Riverstone right here. You can see that it's been quite volatile. When the pandemic first hit somewhere in March, it pushed up all the way from 30, 40, 50 cents all the way to about $2.40, all right, and then prices started to come down, right, and there's some profit taking, and from the moving averages, you can see that there are some signs of weakness when you broke that $2 support level, right, and it started to consolidate. All right, so over the past, I would say 2 to 3 months, we've been holding above this good support level at about $1.45. Look at this right here, right? $1.45 was a very, very good support. In fact, when it broke this support level, there are some downside targets that were drawn. All right, of course, we have a good support level somewhere around 180 as well for Riverstone, but we broke that level as well. All right, and it seems like sellers are just coming out to break each of the support level each time. And in terms of the moving averages, you can see that this green line, okay, the 20 days moving average, have crossed back down below the red line. So there are some signs of weakness in terms of the short term, all right, especially when we broke that 145 level somewhere in early of November. Alright, so there are some downside targets that were drawn to 120 and $1. So it seems like we've pushed lower. Alright, and we are currently trading about 113, 1.13. So where would be the next support level, right? So I would say the next support level would be somewhere around that $1 mark. That would be a good psychological support level. We might potentially hit towards that level, and that's where hopefully we see a bit of bargain hunting coming back, right? But just to take note, guys, I would say that in terms of the glove makers, it might not be as strong as what we used to see somewhere in May and June when the pandemic got worse, and that's where a lot of people got infected, more cases around the world. But right now, because there are talks about vaccines since early November, that's where these counters are all selling down, because there are a shift of funds from many of these glove makers back into companies that were heavily beaten during the pandemic, right? Like companies like the banks, the SIA and all that, right? So people are more or less shifting their funds to the recovery place, right? Those which have been beaten down, we're looking at entering again to ride the recovery, rather than those glove makers which have benefited when the pandemic first hit. Right, and that's the reason why they've sold off whenever there were any talks about a vaccine, which is in fact being rolled out over the next few weeks as we head into the end of the year. Okay, so for Riverstone, you can see that currently right now the immediate resistance is at about $1.20, and 20 cents. So right now I would say we might still look weak below that 120 immediate resistance level. Let me just turn this to red in color. All right, this would be a resistance as well. 120, 145, all these would now become the resistance level. And of course, if that $1 were to break down, you might want to be careful, because we can also see a bit more weakness, right? Just like how it has broken at 145 and 120. If that $1 were to break down, we might even hit to like the 80 cents mark. Of course, I'm not going to that, but just be careful if that $1 support, psychological support level would to break down. We might potentially hit even lower, because there are some signs of weakness from the moving averages, with the green line kind of like crossing back down below both the red and blue line, and the 100 days moving average line. This red line right away, you can see that it was like pointing up, right, flattened, and right now it is like pointing down. So potentially we can see a bit of a trend reversal from an up to a downwards direction in terms of the midterm trend, probably that next 3 to 6 months kind of outlook. Right, so I'll say that for the glove makers, I mean for Riverstone, it's still weak below that 120, all right, and overall in the entire sector, kind of like the upside is kind of capped, because when that talks about investing, people are looking more like a recovery phase, looking at counters to ride the recovery rather than going for these glove makers that kind of like benefited greatly when the pandemic first hit. Okay, so this is Riverstone right here. So guys, let's move on to the next counter, and this will be UG Healthcare, right? So if you like this video, guys, be sure to give me an early thumbs up. It will definitely help out the YouTube algorithm, reach out to more people. All right, thank you so much for doing this. Okay, let's go on to UG Healthcare right here. Company trading about 0.58, right? So I mentioned just about early of November, we had some downside targets that were drawn when it kind of broke that 70 cents mark. So it seems like we've seen a bit of weakness, came down, we broke that 60 cents support level over the past few days. All right, and buyers started to come out, a bit of bargain hunting somewhere around here. So same thing, I would say this looks quite similar to like Riverstone. We're seeing signs of weakness in terms of prices pushing lower, and in terms of the moving averages, this green line have come broke down below, all right, the 100 days moving average. And this red line or something is like flattening out. If it starts to point down, it's not so good in the short to mid term. All right, so right now I would say immediate resistance wise would be about that 60 cents level. I would, anything below 60 cents, we might still see a bit of selling coming back. It might rebound to there, and sellers might come back again to push it back down towards that 50 cents mark. 50 cents would be a good psychological support level. If that breaks down, potentially we might even hit towards that 42, 43 cents, and that was the support that we've seen somewhere in July, just before when it started to push higher. All right, and this is where, look at this, the 200 days moving average is line is here as well. So we're kind of like supported just above it, just right at the 50 cents mark. So yeah, if we do get past that 50 cents, just take note it's not so good as well. All right, and it could show that the trend has kind of like reversed down as well, in terms of the mid to long term. Okay, so this is UG Healthcare right now, trading below that 60 cents. It's about 0.58. Anything below 60 cents, you might want to be careful, because we can potentially see a bit more weakness. Okay, the last glove maker that I'd like to cover would be this company called Top Glove, right? Top Glove, it looks quite similar to the other two. All right, currently trading about $2.22, right? So you can see we're pretty much consolidating above that 260 support somewhere from September to like early November. But when we broke this $2.60 support right over here, you can see that's where the selling really started. Of course, the moving averages, this green line started to turn down and eventually cross over bearishly below the 100 days moving average line. So that's a sign of weakness as well in short to mid term. All right, and look at this, the red line, right? The red line is also kind of like pointing down. Look at this, right? It's kind of like pointing down. So same thing, not so good in terms of a trend reversal from up to a downwards direction. But more importantly, guys, you want to take note of this really critical support level, and that would be the $2 mark. Right, you can see the $2 mark kind of coincides with this longer term 200 days moving average as well. This is a longer term moving average, which is right at the $2 mark. So we might actually hit towards that $2, all right, maybe about 2 to 210, and we might see a bit of bargain hunting coming back, buyers coming back to ride the rebound or kind of catch it on dips. It might potentially rebound back to like 220 or 240. That could be a good rebound range. But more importantly, guys, you want to take note that if this support level were to be broken, all right, it's definitely not a good thing, because this is is a longer term kind of a moving average, right? And of course, in terms of the short to mid term, I mentioned there are already signs of weakness. So if the longer term $2 moving average will not hold as well, we can potentially hit even lower, and that would be probably to that 160, right? 160 to 180. That was the levels we've seen somewhere in June, all right, before it started to push up. So we might potentially hit towards those level, all right, if that $2 psychological, support level were to break down, right? So just take note of this level, all right? If you want to like kind of buy on dips to catch the rebound, you can do it, but just make sure you have a plan to kind of stop loss and get out if that $2 to break down, because we can potentially see the reversal in terms of the downwards direction continuing. Okay, so this is Top Glove, right? So we have pretty much covered the three glove makers, right? UG Healthcare, Riverstone, and Top Glove. The whole entire sector, we're seeing weakness because of talks of a vaccine coming out since like earlier November, and many governments around the world have come like book their orders for vaccines from like Pfizer and Moderna. All right, and yeah, eventually I would say the business will be affected in terms of the demand wise, not as much compared to when the pandemic first hit. Right, so if you're looking to buy into these counters, you might want to, not just get in. You might want to have a plan to get out in case certain support levels are broken. Right, that's where we can see a bit of weakness, and the upside might be capped. Okay, so yes, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Of course, smash the subscribe button so you'll be alerted to any of these videos that I share on YouTube like this. Right, so thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Joey here.